in this world to live up to your expectation. Neither are you in to live up to mine. I don't owe no one, no obligation. No one owes me none, so everything is fine, fine. I say I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine, while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you wanna say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain. Yellow, yellow all the way is what everybody say. Cell phone ring, man answering. Yellow, yellow, no hello. Teeth get yellow, house get yellow, bus get yellow, man get yellow, even green get yellow, and so says 11-4. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain. Old school parables say you know what you have, but you don't know what you go get. So cherish what you have to diminish regret. But what on earth lasts forever? Not even things created by the great Jehovah. So the green grass ceased to grow to allow the yellow vibes to flow. But boy, one song I sing, one bell I ring. If we didn't know, we never know yellow would have treated us so. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic recession, we can't give you attention. Economic recession, the cause of poverty in the land. Economic recession, no employment for the ordinary man. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain, you now refrain.
And good night to each and every one of you. My name is Sheldon Scott. We'll be taking you up until the 10 o'clock hour. This is Talking Points tonight. Yeah, the 30th day of November 2022. It's been a beautiful day today. Actually felt a bit dry seasonish today, yeah.
Soon, maybe by the next full moon. Although things are turning at a very slow pace, we now run no race. 5 years is a lot of space. It's just a few hungry.
As you can hear from my voice, there's a little bit of the flu. Yeah, the flu kind of flew my direction.
Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay.
But we're gonna make it.
That's the way it is. We've waited.
And here's what, we're keeping the phone lines open for the entire night tonight. Yeah, 440-7377, 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers for you to call. And yes, I have been getting your messages.
1,000.
Those of you who are still within the public service of Grenada and are therefore afraid. Yeah, imagine that. You got that stage that you had to be afraid to call an opposition program. Wow. That's where we've gotten to on this island right now, that some people have got to be afraid to call a program.
Promises.
But I get your messages. I know that you're listening.
The way it is, we've waited.
So while you may not be able to call the program, you are getting the talking points that you can speak to people on your job, in your community, and around the place on the issues as they are. Nice?
An asset to the party, and will we vote you without him? You left him with Glenn alone. Maybe they cloned.
Christopher, we're giving you it tonight. Yeah, Christopher, the first to come in tonight.
Just before the next.
Good night to you, Christine and Wilma.
To come real good, cause it's a long.
Adrian, Kathleen, Joyce. Yeah, good night to you all.
We won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you're not refrain. You're not refrain. You remember in the Bible, God had a plan for Jonah to restore Nineveh. But who will restore Grenada? Is it the same Jonah? Lots of doubt, so I'm running up my mouth. And I ain't counting no chicken before the hatch. Politicians sometimes form a crooked badge. After they get the vote, they not sing one note. But here comes Fort Judy.
Let me say a special good night to our listeners out there in St. Lucia. I know lots of you are locked in.
Hungry belly still grumbling. And you trick us with
My good friends out there in Grosselet, those of you down in Castries,
that's the way it is. We
those of you down in Ancillary, View 4.
the strain, but you not refrain. So yellow people say, next election, not me, stand that finger.
Those of you down in Soufrière, Laborie, yeah?
Still with more pressure and hunger. And from the mouth of Grenada, only one thing I utter. The
Babano Squad, good night to you.
fail us. And I could never understand the distribution of the wealth. So drink your bush home if you want good health. And for real, we appreciate the
My very, very good friends in Mount Sepa, night to you.
we do from January to November. Suck salt and drink Nawasa water. When you trick us with campaign
All listeners out there in the Virgin Islands, good night to you.
that's the way it is. We've waited in.
Trinidad, yeah, especially those of you in southern Trinidad, a special good night. See, you all have been having some problems with the flooding down there.
By the way, what will be your theme for the next campaign? It can never be about change.
My good friends in Jamaica, August Town,
People to vote for NDC
Hermitage,
or Chinese. You better wrap up $1,000 in yellow jerseys for we, or give us every
Cassia Park.
days of NNP, or else funeral for NDC. Whatever, Grenada still belongs to we.
Saying a very special good night to you folks. Remember to like and share. We're going to start the conversation in a short while. But meanwhile, you've got to like and share the live.
But I know you will like this poem, for this poem is a problematic poem.
Oh gosh, my friends in Grosselet in the village, they upset, man. They say I had to shout them out. My good friends in the village, in Grosselet itself, the Grosselet village, are saying a special good night to you. I'll go and put myself in trouble by starting to call parts of St. Lucia and leave out some people. Bourgeois Squad, nice, good night.
This is not politics. Please don't forget. I'm just practicing to be a poet. Not qualified as yet, but have no fear. I'm gonna get there.
Remember, folks, on a Monday is going to be budget day.
World to leave up to
I
your.
would call it our next thing, but I'm kind of on air and I'm trying to keep a certain standard. But on Monday, you're supposed to be hearing the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the island of Grenada for the year 2023. Yeah? That's how we're going to put it. Yeah. On Monday, you will be hearing the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the island of Grenada for the year 2023.
As I am that I am, I am.
Garvin Thomas, good night to you. Hillary and K. Sensi, Faith Lynn, good night to each and every one of you. Oh, yeah, Sensi, you want to get the music? All right, hit me an inbox and so on. Hit me an inbox on the Facebook page and I'll handle you nicely, man. I'll make sure you get those music. Whatever tunes you want, I'll make sure you get them. All right, Michelle Alexander, Joyce Phillip, good night to you. I think I said hello to Hillary before. Kathleen, Joyce Phillip, and Adrian Watts, a special good night to each and every. And Adrian, tell your wife a special good night for me as well. All right, so that's you all over there on the YouTube. Let me see who is over on the Facebook. Nice.
While I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises. We won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain. But you're not refrain. You're not refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you want to say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And
all right, so let me say a special good night to Wendy Ann, Donnellan, Anne-Marie, Williams, Naz, right, McLean, Ryan, Roses, Unison, Christopher, Matthew, Faye, Keisha, Danraj, Shemi, Jocelyn, Shems, Lisa, yeah, all of you under the live there, and many others. I'm seeing you there. Remember, I'm not seeing enough shares. You had to share the thing. Everybody who there supposed to share the thing. All right, yeah, so budget day on Monday. So you know I'll be listening intently because believe me, when you're in university and you're going for your doctoral thesis, you have to present your thesis and then you have to defend your thesis before they give you your doctorate. So you have to do your research, you have to put your information together, then you have to do a presentation of your thesis, and then you have to defend your thesis among a team of people who they know what they're about. They already have the doctorate and that sort of thing. And you've got to defend your doctoral thesis in front of them. Now, on Monday, they are seeking to get their doctorate. So they will be presenting their thesis. And when they present their thesis on Monday, on Thursday, yes, on Thursday, they will be having, on Thursday, they will be having the rebuttal, yeah, of the budget and the start of the debate. So while I'm interested in hearing what they've got to say on Monday, the real test of whether or not, because here's what they're going to do, and I'm going to tell you up front what they're going to do because I know exactly what they're going to do. There's going to be the budget presentation on Monday. They have already secured a number of people who they consider to be loyal to them, but who have a background. Good night to you, Carl, and Kester, and Christopher, and Raul. They've secured a team of people who have some sort of background in economics to come and praise the budget. So it's like you walk with your own audience. You walk with your clap inside. So after the Prime Minister is finished there, the full intention is that GIS would be blocking all of these people as they're coming. And so, and the line that these people are to use is that it was a good budget. There's a lot in it for this section. It's a good budget. There's a lot in it for that. I would have liked to see a little extra in this, but it's good enough what they have got there and that sort of thing. So that is what you're going to be seeing they're trying on Monday. On Monday night, I am nearly certain that on Beyond the Headlines, you will be seeing, if it's not Nazim Burke, it's going to be Christopher de Riggs or one of these kind of people they're going to bring to talk about economics and the budget and how much the budget nice and all this kind of thing. They're going to bring on Monday night. While they're doing that on Monday night, we will ensure that here on Talking Points, we have a proper team of people to discuss various aspects of the budget. All right? So I'm working on getting that team of people together. So on Monday, we'll offer you an alternative to what you're hearing on GBN and those other stations. And so they're going to follow up because they are giving talking points now. Yeah, the following meeting. They're giving talking points to the cadre. You know the Tuntun Makut callers they have and the people on the internet? Right. They're giving a round of points to these people to call all the radio programs on, first of all, on Monday morning to hype up the thing. Then, that's GBN and WeFM and different things they're going to be calling all over. Then on Tuesday, Wednesday, they're going to be doing the same thing. So you're going to be hearing these voices coming on to whether it's Shaggy's program or whether it's the morning program on GBN and so hyping up the thing. Oh, it was such a lovely budget and that sort of thing. And they're going to be flooding the internet. Anybody say something bad about it, they're going to be flooding the internet, attacking them and that sort of thing. Then, on Thursday, right? On Thursday, when Dr. Mitchell presents, these same people will have a totally different task. They want you to know all of that, right? My good friend, I'll send that song over to you, yeah? I'll make sure that you get it. As soon as the program is over, I'll make sure that you get that song. Right? So you're going to get... Grenadian politics, I get into that. Jerry Batiste! Yes, man. Wow. And Betty James, good night to you as well. Now, folks, I'm telling you this because I want you to know what to expect from these individuals. I'm telling you word by word what I know. It's always important. And in the art of war, they teach you know yourself, but also know your opponent. And if you know yourself and you know your opponent, in 100 battles, you'll have 100 victories. So know yourself and know your opponent. So you know this is what they are going to do. There's no changing it. It's already set in stone. This is what is going to happen. They've already developed the talking points. As I told you, there was a CBI thing that they had a couple weeks ago, and they gave talking points to different people in the audience. I have the video. I've got the video of these people in the crowd with typed questions that they had to ask in an attempt to embarrass the New National Party. Yeah? But I'm looking forward to the budget. Stephanie, good night to you. And I'm sure that Natalia is somewhere around there. Arkin, Curtis, and Gemma, good night to each and every one of you. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is what is taking place next week around the budget. But here's what. Class is in session on Thursday. Let me say that again. Class is in session on Thursday. And then we are going to realize whether these individuals are in preschool, they're in kindergarten, they're in primary school, they are in secondary school, they're in a tertiary institution such as TAMCC or NULO, or whether they're in university. But when Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell delivers his response to the budget on Thursday, you know that class will be in session. You know the bell ring, time for school. Everybody take your seat and listen to what the teacher has to say. So I am looking forward. To next Thursday's presentation by former Prime Minister and leader of His Majesty's opposition. I'm still getting used to saying His Majesty's. After your whole life you're saying Her Majesty. Still getting that little, used to His Majesty. To his leader of His Majesty's opposition, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, when he presents on Thursday. And believe me, I'm picking up one or two things. There are some very, very interesting aspects of that budget. Because I'll tell you this for one. In previous budgets, and I'm speaking here probably back to the days of Nancy Maguire, which would take us back to the late 1990s. When you have the section, the budget basically has the salary of everybody that's working with government. It's there. So if you're looking at a particular ministry like the Prime Minister's ministry, you would see the amount that the Prime Minister works for. You would see the amount that the Permanent Secretary works for. They give you the gross total over 12 months. So they give you the total over 12 months. You just divide that by 12 and you get what the monthly salary of each individual is. So you can see the minister's salary. You can see the salary of the senior administrative officer. Everybody, for secretary, everybody, the salaries are there, right? And then at the back of the budget as well, there is a appendix where you see the category of worker, whether they're in grade H or whatever it is, the category and the salary scale for people within that category. So it's a very precise document. What is going to be delivered on Monday is the budget presentation, or just a synopsis, a condensed version of the budget. The actual budget document can run into 300 or 400 pages. Yeah, it could run into as much as that, 300 to 400 pages at times. That's how big the budget document is. It's a kind of thick book that you have. Now, inside there, as I said, you can find the salary of everybody. Strange enough, though, that this year there is nothing there for the salary of the press secretary. I can tell you what the last press secretary worked for, because you could get the budget document of 2022, and it says there what the salary of a press secretary is. Now, there wasn't a category there for an executive assistant. I don't think there was a category existing under the last budget for a executive secretary. But this budget cycle, it's there, but the salary is not there. It just simply says next date contract. Why is that? Because I am hearing that the executive secretary, and I don't know what the role of the executive secretary is, but it seems to be a very important role, because the executive secretary seems to be receiving a salary higher than a government minister. The press secretary, who nobody voted for, also seems to be working for a salary higher than the salary of a government minister. So while you have Ron and Tevin and Karine and others working for one salary, it seems as though the salary that the press secretary is working for is higher than their salary. And the salary that the executive secretary is working for is higher than their salary. But again, we have to ask ourselves, value for money. Are you, and do you believe, and you can mention it in the comments here, do you believe that you all are getting value for money? What is the press secretary doing? Well, we talked last night, I see about 3 or 4, let me see, it's about 3 or 4 press releases come out, whap, whap, whap today. What them young people say, whap, 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 whap. Yeah, so I see 1, 2, 3, yeah, 3 press releases come out today. And all of them come out within the space of 1 hour. So you had whap, whap, whap. Yeah, whap, whap. That came out today. So you're going to be paying somebody, roughly, about $10,000, it is alleged, because again, under the budget, it's blank. Why they have to hide the salary of the press secretary? Why they have to hide the salary? Well, I could go and reprint the thing now. I have it already. Yeah? So why they have to hide the salary of the executive assistant and hide the salary of the press secretary? Or maybe I need to go through with a fine-tooth comb the how much 100 pages to be sure that it's not there. But where it should be, under the office of the Prime Minister, and there's something else with the office of the Prime Minister, I'm just confirming on it first before I talk on it. So we're going to talk on that one tomorrow night, not tonight. I like to make sure when I'm speaking. So you're talking about $10,000 per month. In other words, between the time that this individual has been in that job and now, they have already roughly collected about $30,000. Because they've been there about 3 months now. So as of today, if they get a salary on time, because I'm hearing from some nurses who are under contract that they have not yet been paid, as of today, the 30th of November, they have not yet been paid. And some other category of workers who are saying that they have not yet received their salaries yet. And there's this excuse that's been used by people in the finance departments that the checks have not cleared yet. By the 15th of the month, you're supposed to know you're paying when you're government. By the 25th, 26th, you're supposed to send that in by the, let's say, the 23rd, 24th. And certain banking institutions and credit unions, they don't wait 3 days before they clear that. They clear it. It's the government of Grenada, so they would clear it. So to give the impression right now that, oh, it's a situation where they're waiting for the checks to clear. No. Something more in that water than the pestle. And it's not the first month that this is happening to some of the nurses. Yeah? And there's a lot more with the nurses that we have to speak on. A lot more with the nurses. In fact, I would venture to say, do not be surprised that we have, not this Friday, but next Friday, that we have a special Talking Points program. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to say that we may have a special Talking Points program. I'll discuss it with the team and we will decide, but definitely, yeah. I'm also interested in knowing about what is taking place in relation to the security arrangements for the present leader of the government. And I'm not speaking about the head of state. I'm speaking about the head of government. I'm speaking about the prime minister. Because what I'm hearing now is that you have to have police and protection on one place within the town of St. George. Well, two places in the town of St. George, within the boundaries of the town of St. George. Two locations. And then there's a third location that you have to have coverage on that is being used. And I would like to know as well if that third location is being paid for out of the consolidated fund or by the people of Grenada. Or if the Honorable Prime Minister is paying for that location himself, because the people of Grenada provided a facility for his use as his residence. And if he's not utilizing that residence, then there has to be a valid reason why not. And if another residence is being paid for, then we the Grenadian people need to know that it's being paid for. Yeah, and how much it's being paid for and the reasoning behind paying for a third location. All right? Yeah, all of these things we want to know. Janet and Charmaine, Gil, good night. Yeah, and Ski. We need to know. Because I say I'm hearing things. I don't want to say everything that I'm hearing, but I'm hearing things. And as such, I believe it's important for these questions to be answered. All right? So the estimates of revenue and expenditure are coming out. Because I know when I go onto a certain street in town that they block off a section and people can't park. And whether the Prime Minister is there or not, it's creating an obstruction and a problem because people can't park. They block off a space that he's not using. Right? And then you have the Prime Minister's residence, which I hear is not being utilized. And then there's a third location. So something is more in the water than the pestle and the plantain alone. There's something else. I can't go falling. There's something more in that mortar than the pestle. So as I said, I'm very interested in finding out what is taking place with that. All right. And if this is being placed as a burden on the Grenadian taxpayer, if this is being placed as a burden on you and me as Grenadian taxpayers, if we have to basically upkeep 2 or 3 residents, and why? Yeah, I don't want to be a person that damages the issue of national security. That's why I've not named where those locations. Everybody know where the Prime Minister's residence is, but I've named exactly where the other 2 are. But I'm saying it's important to let the Grenadian people know if indeed the third location is being paid for by the Grenadian people and why, if that is so. All right? Nice. Beautiful. Seeing somebody saying the rent is there, look on that particular section of the budget. I'm going to still ask the question because I know they're not renting Mount Royal.
And for everything there is a season.
And if you're not using Mount Royal, there has to be a valid reason why you're not using Mount Royal. A very valid reason why you're not using Mount Royal.
Just some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind. Make sure everything is fine while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises. We won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain. But you now refrain. You now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you want to say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with Kim.
And folks, remember the phone lines are open, 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Let me say a special good night to my good friend Devon. You and Brenz, I know you're listening, eh?
Yellow, all the way is what everybody.
Special good night to both of you.
Phone ring, man answering. Yellow, yellow, no hello. Teeth get yellow, house gets yellow, bus get...
And we've got a call online. Good night. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, yes, go right ahead. You're live right now.
Okay.
Hello?
I seen you on TV.
Okay, that's nice, my dear. You okay?
Yeah?
Okay, wonderful. I love to hear your voice. You have a wonderful night tonight, eh?
Okay.
All right, beautiful. Yeah, so I'm getting information here, I'm seeing stuff. I'm hearing all kind of figures being put forward there. Close to $250,000 additional a year for a third residence for the Prime Minister. He has his own residence, and then he has the Prime Minister's official residence, and I fail to see why. Because here it is, remember, you are refusing to pay Faith program, to pay these poor people their money. You are failing to pay. You're refusing downright. You say take it to court. You're refusing to pay the poor people their money. The people who have to get a little 800. The people who have to get 1,000. That they have already worked for. You are refusing to pay them. But they're going into this extravagance of having, as far as I know, a third residence for the head of government. Remember, you have the head of state and you have the head of government. The head of state is the governor general. The head of government is the prime minister. And I am still looking for the reasoning. If indeed you're talking about $20,000 to $24,000 a month, because that's the figures that I'm getting from different people, $20,000 to $24,000 additional a month. So that works out to a little over $250,000 a year that we're speaking about for a residence for the Prime Minister when there are residents already provided. And you have people going to the general hospital who need to get antibiotics. Yeah, we go back to that again. We're back to that again. People going to the general hospital to get antibiotics and being told they have to pay. People being told they have to pay. And meanwhile, you have the people in the faith program who did their job, and out of nothing but pure political victimization and wickedness, you refuse to pay. You reduce the number of the bushing program. I saw some people, different locations, trying their best, doing little debushing and thing today. I was glad for them. I'm always glad to see somebody earning a money, because there's a family with each person that you see out there working. There's a family at home depending on that person. In the same way that each of the people that have been sent home by this administration, there's a family that's at home that depended on that person. Whether it's in Carriacou, Knight Louise Joseph, whether it's in Carriacou, whether it's in Pitamatnik, whether it's in Grenada, each person that they've sent home, there are people, there are children, there are elderly, there are many others who are at home and depending on that individual. And while they can't find money to keep these people, while they try their very best to you throw up all kind of old talk about, oh, this is not needed and that is not needed. You're telling me you find $250,000 extra for the Prime Minister to have a third location? He had two already. Possibly more. Because I don't think that he only has one property personally. But instead of using one of his other properties, or his main property, he's decided that you're going to go for a third. And no, we're not supposed to speak about that. So shut down the program, attack who is speaking. Anybody that comes out and speak about that is problems. You understand? Nobody is supposed to speak about that. Leave that alone. Yeah? Your rights to speak about that seem to be compromised. Like the Constitution only serves some people in this country, because the moment you call a radio program and you speak negatively about some of the things that are going on now, all of a sudden, you are an enemy. Under the revolution, did I call you a counter? That's the sort of thing that's going on in this country right now. And there's a point I want to raise, There's a point I want to raise. And you know what? Let me drink some water before I go to that one. As I said, I'm a bit fluish tonight, as you could tell from my voice. I'm a bit fluish tonight. So let me drink some water quickly, yeah? Sherms, good night. Monica and Veronica. John, good night. No, they don't only take bread from poor people mouth, They take the flour, the oven, the water supply, the yeast. They take everything. They ain't just box the bread, to make sure you can't make none. So while it seems to be okay to give every government minister a raise, with the exception of the Prime Minister, and we won't come to if he get a raise or not, we're going to come to that because you might be very surprised that while he ain't get out of the 2,000, he may have gotten something else. Yeah, so while Dr. Keith Mitchell may have been working for one salary for all these years, other individuals may have increased their salary. But anyway, we will come to that if that is the case. I'm doing my checks to make sure. But I'm telling you this though, it was okay for them to give each of their ministers an additional $24,000 a year. Every minister. $24,000 more than any minister has worked for in the last 10 to 15, 20 years or more. They have given them that. $24,000 additional. So when you go to them and you're asking them, and I'm speaking about the ministers and not MPs. So that is not the 6 on the NNP side. That's those people who hold ministerial portfolios. So the senators, the senators like Senator Claudette Joseph, she got a $24,000 increase on the person who held that portfolio before. Yeah? Senator Jonathan Lacrette, he's got a $24,000 increase on the person that held that portfolio before. Right? Senator David Andrew, he got a $24,000 increase on the portfolio that person that held that portfolio before. And you also have the senator, that lady, her name eludes me at this point in time. Her face does not, but her name eludes me at this point in time. But she also got a $24,000 increase. And so does Honorable Ron Redhead and Karine James and Honorable Joseph Handel and Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Honorable Lennox Andrews. They all got, Honorable Telesford, they all got a $24,000 increase per year on their salary. Yeah, that's what they've got. But meanwhile, you have said that you're removing the $30+ million under the Imani program. So it's okay to send poor people children on the bread line. If they could get bread, because you box the bread out the mouth and you send them to the bread line where it might not have bread because the price of thing going up and that kind of thing. Right. But you do that, and then you still on top of that fine $250,000 for a PM's residence when you already have a PM's residence. Something into right. Seriously, I don't believe that is right.
Fine. We are looking into it. Never mind.
But again, I'm looking forward to the budget presentation. And then I'm especially looking forward to the response of former Prime Minister Dr. Right Honorable Keith Mitchell and the presentations by Honorable Peter David, Honorable Emlyn Pierre, Honorable Delma Thomas, Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis. Yeah? I'm looking forward to their presentations. Honorable Clarice Modest Kerwin. I'm looking forward to her presentation and the presentations over in the Senate by Senator Cox and Senator Franklin and Senator, oh boy, how could I don't know why is this, I'm just forgetting ladies' names tonight. Something has to be wrong. I'm having one of those senior moments tonight, it seems.
1,000 Frenchmen can never be wrong, but you hold your yellow convictions strong.
Betty James, good night.
So why not send them advisors home?
So the people under faith program ain't good enough to give the money that they already work for. They sanitized, they've done their security duties, etc. They did their job. You refuse to pay the faith program to pay these people. But it's okay to spend that kind of money, $20,000 to $24,000 a month, on an additional residence. Nah, man, something had to be wrong.
You now refrain. So we've heard about your internal division, but some can digest.
And I'll be very interested in knowing who owns that residence that is being rented. And if that person has any affiliation at all to any aspect of the National Democratic Congress.
And however, I foresee a pretensive unity.
Or if they are a family member of any senior government minister or so.
You guys will have to come real good, because it's a lot.
Or if they've got a business that is in line with something that one of the senior members of the NDC is doing.
Campaign promises.
Or if they're an old NDC minister or NDC associate who used to be on the executive or so. I'm very interested. I want to know the owner of the property that's being rented, if indeed it's being rented for $20,000 to $24,000, or if it's being given free to the people of Grenada. I want to know.
Same Jonah, lots of doubt, so I'm running up my mouth. And I ain't counting no chicken before the hatch. Politicians sometimes form a crooked batch. After they get the vote, they now sing one note. But here comes Fort Judy and Nancy Payne, with $1 million house and brand new car on the scene, while our hungry belly's still grumbling. And you trick us with campaign promises. We won't stay at ease, that's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain.
Then I'm hearing of the transfer of all kind of police and so on. Police who used to be on detail get detailed out, all kind of Paul, you Papa, you.
Only one thing I utter, the Congress neglect.
No wonder you're hearing several people in the Royal Grenada Police Force say they're taking early retirement. They've made the number of years, and according to the Pension Act, they can take their leave at this point in time, collect what little gratuity they could collect, and wait until they reach the age for collecting a pension, so they could get some money up front and then collect their pension after.
Stay at ease, that's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. By the way, what will be your theme for the next campaign? It can never be about change again. And in what language are you going to tell people to vote for NDC?
And while they're speaking about residents, now, Carriacou is a place that's very near and very dear to my heart. Carriacou, let me say it again. Carriacou is a place that's very near and very dear to my heart. My father is from the island of Carriacou, and he's specifically from the village of Mount Royal in Carriacou. Oftentimes when I go to Carriacou, I ensure that I visit my grandmother's grave right there in Hillsborough, right? My grandfather's grave, I have not gotten around to getting to that one. It's one of the old ones there, and so I ensure that I visit all my relatives, and so as many as possible anytime I set foot on the island of Carriacou. So you would understand that Carriacou is a place that's very near and dear to my heart. And when I see what's happening in Carriacou, because many of you will remember that the Honorable Kindra Mathurin Stewart several months ago handed over, the buildings that were completed in Dumfries by our good friends the Chinese, handed over those buildings to various very deserving people in Carriacou, and some from Petit Martinique. But do you know that up to this point in time, the present administration refuses to hand the keys over to these people so that they could move in? So we saw the handing over, they got their documents, and at that ceremony you heard it was said that you now take the document and you go in to get your light, your electricity from Grenlec, and your water from Nawasa. So you would go in with the documents and Nawasa would connect you, and then Grenlec would connect you. Now, Nawasa did their job, they connected different individuals, and so Grenlec was a hold-up in relation to that. Elections came, and now it seems as though everything is being reviewed. So now, what the people who should have already been residing in those apartments in Dumfries, the people who in many instances have to be paying rent, they have to be paying rent in different places in Carriacou when they could have and should have already been in those buildings and paying their local kakada to the state of Grenada, paying to own. Instead of that, they are being given the royal runaround. In some instances, you're hearing all sorts of nonsense being told to them that you have to reapply and that we're relooking and we're reopening the process. And so these people were already given their documents for those apartments in Dumfries. They already received their documents. Carriacou people, am I lying? Carriacou people, am I saying something that's not true? Because these people received their documents. All they had to do was connect their water and connect their electricity. Elections came, and it seems as though now they're in a perpetual runaround. So they're being told, oh, it's being reviewed, it's being looked at again, we're trying to see if the people that get deserve. Come on, man. Really, seriously, come on. When you look at the people, they are deserving people, people who really need it. These are the people that got those apartments in Carriacou. But some people like to play tin gods unto themselves. But they have to understand, tin is a thing, if you leave it outside enough, you rust into nothing and dust. So let it continue playing tin gods. About who had to go to jail and all kind of thing, that is something all they should be in jail for. To be doing that to these Grenadian citizens. People who have already got these apartments under the last administration. And the only criteria why these people are being treated like that is because they got those apartments under the last administration. It's the same reason they can't hand out the apartments that you're seeing right now. They're not doing that. Not because of any structural flaws or anything like that. Because people knew if you're getting the apartment, you had to build out your cupboards and those sort of things you had to do because you do it how you want it. And so, then they start using the excuse in Carriacou that they need a laundry and that a laundry has to be constructed. When you look at the patio to the back of those apartments and then you realize there's a dung pipe. In other words, there's a dung pipe and there's a tap. So they put in place an area for you to do your laundry in the apartment. But no, remember, they have executive members with laundry and all kind of thing, you know. So right now they want to do laundry in Carriacou. So they say they need to do a big laundry in the middle of it there in Carriacou. But I wonder who's going to be the person in charge, the people in charge and owning that. If it's going to be a government-owned and operated laundry, or if that is going to be given as a contract to somebody to run a laundry there. And if so, under what terms and conditions will that be placed there? The people already have a tap to the back of those apartments and a dung pipe. So you could put your little washing machine, you could do your washing, and there's space. Yeah? So they're using that as an excuse why they have not moved forward with ensuring that these people get their apartment. That is nothing else but wickedness. Let me say it again. That is nothing else but wickedness. Christmas coming, these people could have already been in those apartments already. But yet still, while these people catching their Mount Royal linen to get into those apartments in Dumfries and Carriacou, while there are literally over 4,000 people on a list for just a couple hundred apartments here on mainland, they're spinning around. Oh, we're looking at it. You have people that were already pre-qualified and that sort of thing that, in other words, they've gone through and they say, well, okay, this is batch of people we're dealing with. This batch doesn't seem as though the batch of people that you really need these apartments. This is the batch of people. Because you may be checking and you may realize that a person owns a home, but they apply for one of the apartments. So within that, you may check and you say, well, okay, no, this person doesn't qualify. We're checking here and we realize that this person doesn't even own one property, they own two. And they're living in one and they're renting one, but they're still applying for an apartment, then that person doesn't qualify. But when you're looking through, you may see a police officer with 15 years service that's still renting and decide, well, I'm applying for one of those apartments. A nurse who has a 15, 20 years service and is applying for an apartment. A teacher that's applying for an apartment. Or a young person who is working in the private sector and they have their young family, they have two children or so, and they're applying for one of those apartments. And you could qualify those persons because they don't have property, they don't have land, that sort of thing. So you're giving them the opportunity for these low-income houses where they're going to pay to own. But instead of moving forward with that, you stall the whole process. And I'm sure what's taking place in St. David right now, because I see like they're cleaning up around the apartments, and so that is good. I'm glad you're all cleaning it up. But I'm absolutely positive it have to be an activist at the NDC that got the job. I'm absolutely positive that's what's going on. And then they go say, well, nah, if it was NNP, they'd do the same thing. But you all said you're doing things differently. So if you're accusing the NNP of having done that, we expect that something different would have been taking place with you all. So while the people in Carriacou, who every Grenadian saw receive their place, every Grenadian see them receive their letters for their place, they can't move in. Up to this day, we're done in November, we just ended November in a few hours. We're starting the last month of the year. And these people getting the royal runaround. Meanwhile, they're telling me there's a possibility that you find $250,000 to rent another facility for the Prime Minister to live at. And that's supposed to be something that's right? That's supposed to be something that Grenadians keep quiet about and say nothing? Come on, man. Something definitely had to be wrong with you guys. Yeah.
Don't forget, I'm just practicing to be a poet. Not qualified as yet, but have no fear. I'm gonna get there. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectation. Neither are you in to live up to mine. I don't owe no one, no one.
Let me say a special good night to my good buddy Nimrod Olivier.
None, so everything is fine.
You the wife.
Fine. As I am that I am.
And before I get in trouble, good night, Master Rodney.
I am that I am.
In fact, knowing you, my brother, I think Rodney might be asleep already by this time here. I think they pass his bedtime. Most likely he's asleep. You're going to see it on the replay. Folks, remember to like and share, and the lines are open 440-7377. And for those of you in North America, 347-329-3101. Yeah.
So, I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will...
Yeah, money ain't good for poor people from these people because you cut the amount of the bushing program that it have. You cut the amount. The same way them people cut in bush, you cut the program. So if 3,000 people used to get a little hold on under the bushing program, because you have now reduced it to nearly nothing, maybe 1,000, and even at the best case, let's say 1,500. So what happens to the other 1,500? Because you've cut it, but you're finding money for all sorts of extravagance. Next thing they go tell you the Prime Minister vehicles and them need to change. Look out for that one. Just not to go in and say they're using them too van again. Time to change them.
You lose the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. Yellow all the way is what everybody...
We've got a call online. Good night.
Good night, Ceylon Scott. How are you?
Hey, I'm quite fine, my dear. And how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing very good.
I'm drinking water, but I'm not minding my business alone. I'm minding everybody else.
Well, as long as you're not drinking the transformation water, I'm good.
Nah, I ain't drinking that. I ain't taking them chance day.
No, we ain't drinking that. We ain't drinking that.
No.
Keep doing what you're doing, my brother. It's good. I'm enjoying it here in New York.
Yes, okay, my dear. And how is New York tonight, though? You all ain't having snow? No snow yet, nah?
So long, goodbye.
No, I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
That's how fight does start. You know, you and I don't get along in the winter. We don't get along.
No, but I mean, Grenada is just a plane flight away.
Okay. See you soon.
You have a good night, my dear.
All right, baby. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Yes, that's our good friends out there in New York listening. So we're saying a special good night to you. Hey, Mr. Watts, good night to you and Zingo. Yeah, Zingo, you must give a boy a little buzz, man. I ain't you. Give a boy a little buzz now, Zingo.
Past administration, chief of corruption.
AC Major,
Then to economic recession.
the boss man himself. Good night to you, bro.
Economic
I know you're on the JOB.
cause of poverty in the land. Economic recession, no employment for the ordinary man.
Yeah, so how's no good for Carriacou people? How's ain't good for Carriacou? You could have 2 and 3 and more or whatever. But house ain't good for Carriacou people. Carriacou people mustn't have their place to go. Yeah, it's okay for you, but Carriacou people mustn't have their place. They get their letters already talking about you have to do laundry. I would love to see who's the contractor that gets the job to do the laundry. That's the first thing. And after the laundry is built, I'd like to know who is going to be operating it. I'm very interested in knowing that. And while we're speaking about Carriacou, whatever happened to the 19-seater plane? I'm seeing people saying now they're trying to get flights with the 19-seater plane and they're being told that we're not taking any more bookings. They're discontinuing the flight. Or have already discontinued the flight. And this at a point in time when you're coming up within weeks, we're already in the Christmas season, but within weeks you will have an influx of people coming down from North America and other locations to get into Carriacou, and they will only have the option of the boat. And not everybody, like myself, can take the boat. I get violently seasick. And you have many other people who would prefer to have that option. And that is why the improvements were done to the airport facility out there in Carriacou over the past couple of years. And that is why the New National Party negotiated to have the flight there. Now, what is the problem with continuing the flight? I know before the election period, the member of parliament for Carriacou and Petit Martinique now, who was then seeking to gain that title, was very garrulous and vociferous in relation to the issues surrounding the people of Carriacou. Well, I ain't hearing him talking on the housing situation right now with many of these people, especially young people with children, who's still struggling to pay a rent right now and need to get one of those places in Dumfries and being given all kind of runaround. You feel if they are told that they could go into the place, that they wouldn't get a little washing machine and do the laundry and thing for themselves, that there's no space to do the laundry, prove that to us. That there's no space and no tap outside and no ground pipe and so for them to be, down pipe, for them to go and do their laundry there. We're saying the Chinese don't know what they're doing. Is that what the member of Carriacou and Petit Martinique is saying? That our good friends the Chinese don't know what they're doing? Is that it? Because I find that is what they're saying. We need to hear what is taking place with that. And again, folks, as you're traveling on the roads, be very, very careful there because, as I told you, there's some kind of potholes that I'm seeing around the place. And they don't want you to talk about potholes. Yes, they're patching here and there and that kind of thing. They are patching. As was being done before, they're patching. But there's some serious holes. You understand? I talk about the crater that they close to Blue Danube. And there are about 2 more. I thought it was 1, 2 more as you're heading down the hill there. So you have to be swinging away and swinging in and that kind of thing. Then down by the roundabout at the bottom at GBSS, at the Regal roundabout, the Tropicana roundabout, there's another big one there, developing there as well. And several others. That if you go down in that, believe me, you're going to have to visit one of the auto parts place very soon.
I think about the youth, about the old and the folks to tell the truth. All I see is shame, misery and pain. The inspiration that we need, we not getting it in the lead. Corruption and greed are the only ones to succeed. Shall we take the high road? Shall we take the low road? Right now there is no road, it is heavy road. Man, they have hole in the road, the road. I go take some more. Oh, Papa,
So, Carriacou, if I lie, tell me I lie. When they say boots on the ground, you didn't know they was raising their boots to kick people in the... Anyway.
America land of plenty. Politicians promise we everything we see on Yankee TV. Now communism fall down. America taking care of their own. We can get it born. Not even an eye.
Up to now, the police officers still waiting for a meeting with the Prime Minister.
We need. We no get it.
160 days in office and they're still waiting on a meeting with the Prime Minister. The people who do the national security work of our country and keep Grenada as one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Next door in St. Lucia, they already crossed 70, not 17, no, 70 murders for the year. And in fact, that was last week, so they might have crossed 80 by now. That's what they're speaking about. Meanwhile, here in Grenada, the Royal Grenada Police Force have done an excellent job of keeping Grenada nice and peaceful. And not only that, they've been able to deal with the recent upsurge in crime and get things back on track again. Doesn't mean that the businessmen should not be keeping an eye out. It doesn't mean that you, especially when you're doing things, for instance, if you're going to the teller machines at night, that you should be careful. Yeah? That if you're running a business and you have a business running, that you should be careful. Especially when you're transferring money from one location to the other. That you pay particular attention to who is around and what's going on and so on, and strange people suddenly popping up. Or strange people that pass in and then pass again because they're monitoring how you operate. So you've got to be very careful with that. So while we've had a recent upsurge in relation to crime, the Royal Grenada Police Force have done an excellent job of maintaining peace and stability. But remember, with all of that happening, and a strike on the port that we're going to come to again soon, a strike on the port, the Prime Minister thought it was important to go down Trinidad to an investment forum. The Prime Minister of Trinidad should have even attended the investment forum that this Prime Minister went to. But he thought it important to leave here. That shows lack of leadership. Up to this point in time, you have not heard the Prime Minister speak to the Grenadian people about keeping Grenada safe. No post-cabinet press briefing, none. They refuse to do any post-cabinet press briefing. They don't want to come and speak to the nation. The same Prime Minister, let me see what he was saying. I have something here with him, you know. He was saying something before the elections. I'm going to get that for you and play.
Man, they have hole in the road. The road so hard. I'm gonna take some more. The economy gone overboard.
Yeah, let's hear what the Prime Minister had to say just on coming in about speaking to the Grenadian people and being transparent and so. Let's hear what he has to say.
I can certainly tell you on those that will not happen. We intend to be transparent. We are not saying we will come and sit in the market and negotiate the government's business there, but I think we certainly will be forthcoming with information unless there's some national security issue or some private confidentiality issues that we need to have regard to, or some other legal impediment. But it's certainly, when I talk, for example.
Yes, folks, we have a call online. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon.
Good night, my dear.
Yes, I'm in Barbados, but I'm listening to the program, but I'm Grenadian.
All right, my dear. Grenadian to the bone.
Yes.
All right,
and
my
to
love.
the bone also.
Yes. And how is Barbados?
I'm wondering why our opposition leader, which is our Prime Minister, you know, that's my Prime Minister still, why he don't take the matter to Parliament about the people with their houses?
Now, remember, we've had basically one Parliament sitting since the opening of Parliament. And that Parliament sitting was purposely scheduled for a day that they know Dr. Mitchell had a matter that he could not escape. He had to go to that next matter, so they scheduled it there. So actually, next week is the first Parliament sitting that Dr. Mitchell, as leader of His Majesty's opposition, will be attending. It's the first time he'll be speaking in Parliament as leader of His Majesty's opposition. That's next week. So
Yes.
expect
And
a
the
lot from
same
him.
time and all them things.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you will be hearing
Well, I
from
hope
him
he
next
bring-
week.
I hope we bring up the matter about that because if they make a decision, it's supposed to come true because they wasn't had a right to do it at the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand them people so disrespectful.
But remember, this is not the first time something like this is happening in Carriacou. Under the last NDC administration, Honorable Elvin Nimrod had given land to various people in Carriacou prior to the 2008 general election. And when the NDC came in July 8th of 2008, they took the land back. They took
But
it back from the people.
That is not right.
So it's not the first time.
It's not right at all. I get fed up with this thing.
Yeah, just treating Carriacou people like nobody. That's what they're doing.
When you talk on Facebook, they're calling me all stupid on Facebook because I don't support them. They're calling me the one stupid person in Grenada because I'm not supporting them.
Well, here's the thing.
All kind of names they're calling me on Facebook. They're threatening me also.
Nah, don't let them threaten you. Let me ask you this, though. When you speak on an issue and you give your view, can they say that your view is wrong? They're not doing that, They're focusing on you and start to call you all kind of names so that you wouldn't give your view.
Because you're not supporting them.
Yeah.
I'm wicked because I don't like progress. And the country going forward. I say, how? How the country going forward? There's nothing going forward. People being sent home all the time from their job. People getting frustrated. They can't feed their family. And they're talking about the country going forward. How?
My goodness.
I don't understand them. Anyway, I'm listening, I'm watching. So I'll tell them to give a call.
All right, my dear.
Okay, have a good night.
Same to you, my dear. All right, and when you come back safe.
Okay, I will.
All right, thank you. And folks, that's the kind of thing I've been speaking about, that it seems as though they don't want anybody to talk but them. You know, and I was playing for you just before the call. I gave priority to the caller, but let me just play this again for you. Let you hear, because remember, this is the same Prime Minister who, as Minister of Information, because I believe Ministry of Information is under him right now, they have no post-cabinet press briefing for about the last 4 weeks. They're not engaging with the media. They have a press secretary being paid an extremely high salary who does not even return emails, phone calls, or WhatsApp messages to the media. And the media fraternity, some of them staying there and they're staying quiet on it.
I can certainly tell you on those that will not happen. We intend to be transparent. We are not saying we will come and sit in the market and negotiate the government's business there, but I think we certainly will be forthcoming with information unless there's some national security issue or some private confidentiality issues that we need to have regard to, or some other legal impediment. But it's certainly, when I talk, for example, about our plans for Red Lake, we will have the debates, we will have the discussions, because we need to ensure that we are transparent to the public and that they support or buy into the things that we want to do. I've already talked about the fact that I intend 3 months after we form the government to have myself and our MPs and our ministers going back to the constituents and reporting on their stewardship, what they found, what they've been doing, what their plans are. That I intend to legislate into law, because if we don't do it, and it's just something I like doing, then it will quickly fade away, because there's no legislative backing, there's no legal requirement to do it. So that's one of the things we intend to do.
So you've heard him speaking about being open and transparent and having the debates. Have you been seeing them now under the new National Party? On a Tuesday, you had post-cabinet press briefing. So a minister, accompanied sometimes by another minister or sometimes two other ministers, and sometimes you would have a minister and a permanent secretary or a SAO, a person in charge of a program, would come and speak to the Grenadian people about different programs under the government of Grenada. So the media, all of them, had the opportunity to ask questions and for their questions to be answered. And if your questions were not answered there, you had the opportunity to contact the press secretary after and get a response to that question, right? So that was standard on a weekly basis. Also, on a Wednesday, a member of government, so somebody from the government side, well, you only had the government side at that time, would also be on GBN, taking calls and that sort of thing. So different ministers would go to GBN on a Wednesday morning, and that was a standing something. So 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning until 10. You had a government minister utilizing that time. And then at 10 o'clock on a Tuesdays, you had post-cabinet press briefing. So there were roughly 2 major engagements with the general public on a weekly basis. Are you seeing that now? You're seeing Minister Ron showing up on a Tuesday. You're seeing him showing up on a Wednesday. In fact, he was at a town hall. And when come time for him to answer a question, they call Orlando until he answer. Orlando is not a member of cabinet. He's not even a member of parliament. But they call Orlando and ask him to answer the question. Well, take Orlando and put him in the Senate and bring him in. Get rid of some of the dead weight you have. If you consider what you have is dead weight, then get rid of Gloria or Dave or one of them and bring in Orlando. Gloria, that's her name. Bring in one of them. That's the kind of thing that we have passing for leadership in this country right now. The same people who tell you they'll be open and transparent and they will engage with the media. These are the same people doing this kind of thing right now and refusing to speak to you, refusing to speak to me, the Grenadian people, on a weekly basis and update us on our business. It's not their business, it's our business. And then, while you take away that now, so they're not doing that, so they're doing less than the former ministers used to have to do, they're getting $24,000 additional a year. A minister leave, they go all in Egypt. Big delegation, some paid for by the government of Grenada, some paid for by some other agency. An agency that I hear is doing some other work in some other part of Grenada, but I'll investigate in relation to that and the funding and how the funding for that project has been utilized. Is it the Nature Conservancy? Yeah, I believe that's the name of that agency. Right? So, they went to a climate change forum where millions, probably even billions of dollars are available, especially for vulnerable small island states like Grenada that are within the hurricane belt. You're right next to one of the most active volcanoes on the planet. You're also within a range that you can have different types of disasters taking place because you're on the Caribbean plate and so on, which tends to have earthquakes. I know a small one occurred last night and so. So you have all of that. So literally, millions to billions of dollars are available if you put together the proper projects and send. So some people went, they take a nice picture with them, dining and eating and all kind of thing. But how much money, what did Grenada gain from sending this big delegation out there? You had 6 people attend virtually. You had 6 who went and come back, and then you had 10 that go. Yeah? So you had that total that went up to Egypt and come back. And then you ask a simple question. What have we, the Grenadian people, gained off of that trip? You can't ask because there's no post-cabinet to ask. Forget about sending any message to the press secretary or anything like that. And forget about looking for them on a Tuesday on GBN. You ain't seen them. Oh, am I wrong? Are they there every Tuesday? Am I lying? Am I telling an untruth? You can't talk to them. Now, I see Diane raising the question there, the Port Authority matter. Diane, they are hoping that that matter dies. Diana, they're hoping that that matter dies. They're hoping that we leave the matter alone and stop asking the question about who is involved. They don't want us to be having that discussion about who is involved because they are afraid that if we dig enough, what we may find. So they don't want to answer the question of who is involved in that Port Authority matter. And if they come with the post-cabinet press briefing, they are afraid that somebody from GBN or MTV or some other media entity like one of the newspapers or so, or one of the independent journalists may ask that question. So they're not coming to speak about the Port Authority matter at all. Because many of us out here are hearing that a sitting government minister is deeply involved in what took place on the port with the fleecing of the government of a lot of money. That's what we are hearing. And they cannot come out to us and say that it's not true. That's all they had to come out and do. Tell us it's not true. Tell us the investigation never involved that particular minister and their entity. Tell us that that minister had nothing to do with that. That their hands are totally clean of that matter. But they're not coming out, so you can ask them a question. They're hiding. All of them in the gardens, hiding. But it's only so long you could hide for. So let's see, they ought to come to Parliament next week. So we'll hear exactly what they have to say. So I want to hear what Senator Andre Lewis had to say on the Port Authority matter. Since you asked Diana, let's hear what Kalashra Faria on the narrative had a discussion with Senator the Honorable Andre Lewis in relation to the Port Authority matter. Let's hear a bit about what he had to say.
The specific female employee who received the termination letter. And you are correct that the letter did not cite gross misconduct, but a news release from the Grenada Ports Authority accused her of gross misconduct, I believe it was. But certainly the Port Authority has gone on record with me with the phrase gross misconduct. And they have said that she caused substantial loss, they said in a news release to the Port Authority. Something like $12,000 related to exit passes at the port. She got her job back. Why?
Well, that's an interesting issue. It must mean that the parties have reached a position of compromise, as I've said, that have indicated that we are both agreed that she ought to maintain her job. And that's what compromise is about. And it's interesting, Kalashra, and that would be examine or explain part of the atmosphere. And that's why personalities are important. Sometimes personalities create further issues. In the letter to the worker, the issue is poor performance. Now, I cannot address it is left to the public to speculate as to why the Port Authority may, in its public release, use a different language. But certainly, the letter of termination, and that is what they have to deal with, and that is what we have to deal with. Because this is a matter, we cannot go to the port and grieve a matter on the basis of a press release.
Well, certainly you can't.
Right, and therefore that is where they probably have taken the liberty to say things that may not necessarily be able to be proven. And that's them. They choose to put out the press release. But certainly, and we are absolutely confident that this letter may not have been written willy-nilly. The port must have given due consideration to what language they can use in a letter to an employee, right? And certainly that's what we have. And certainly this is what the Minister for Labour and the Labour Commissioner and the parties focused their discussion on when we met on Tuesday night and the subsequent discussions.
So part of the settlement, I understand, has to do with the employee gets her job back, but she's on suspension, no pay suspension for 3 months, and she won't be should be rotated out of the port environment. The union agreeing to this, isn't that acknowledging that there is some wrongdoing or poor performance on the part of the employee?
So let me ask you, if I may, and the port agreeing to reverse the termination, isn't that an indication that they have agreed that the termination was not warranted? I'm only juxtaposing that question because it does not mean any of those.
But doesn't the port giving in has to? Wouldn't you say that the strike coming at this time came at a time when people's hands were tied? There's tremendous pressure from everywhere, from the business community, from the traffickers. The government put in a difficult position where hundreds, if not thousands, of citizens were impacted by this strike. So the port giving in may not be indicative of what their position is on how the matter should have been dealt with, but simply a position of duress. No,
the union itself changes position with which settlement on a compromise basis. And that is what, as a matter of fact, this is not the first case that we have had in workplaces where workers have been dismissed and the dismissal has been reversed. That is what engagement brings about.
Now we know that somebody covering up something, because the letter from the Grenada Port Authority to the general public speaks to an incident of malfeasance. Okay, let me put it in simple language. The Port Authority letter says somebody was thieving on the Port Authority. That somebody was giving another somebody or bodies passes to thief on the port. So that when goods came in, they were on the port, and these goods should have gone through the proper clearance system, the escuda system, where you have the custom officers go through, tally what the goods cost and all that sort of thing, so that the Port Authority receives their requisite fees, the customs get their fees, and then the person is allowed an exit pass to exit. The Port Authority is basically saying that some people just get passes and leave the port without that taking place. That's what their release says. And that is why they say they dismiss the employee. But here, the union representative is saying something different. He says the letter doesn't say that. It speaks to poor performance. And he also says there has to be a reason that the Port Authority took that line with the general public. I'm saying that a cover-up is taking place on the Port Authority. And the tarpaulin real big. A cover-up is taking place there in relation to this issue. Who are they protecting? Who are they covering up for? We hearing a minister name ringing. It ringing like a old-time telephone. We hearing a certain minister name ringing. And if there are others, we, the Grenadian people, need and deserve to know. We need to know. Something did take place. We don't think that something took place on the Port Authority. We know for a verified fact that something took place on the Grenada Ports Authority. There is a letter from the Grenada Ports Authority to the Grenadian people saying exactly that something took place on the Port Authority. Some thieving took place on the Port Authority. That this individual was involved. And as far as I'm concerned, this individual is being thrown under the bus to protect other people. And I'm saying to that individual, talk. Because they will swing that boom on you when the time comes. Because when they get fed up and they decide they want to get rid of that individual from amongst the midst, they're going to use this same issue with you to get rid of them, and they're going to take you down with them. So before it gets to that stage, turn witness on them. Swear a declaration. Go by some lawyer and thing and a JP or whatever, swear a declaration. Put it in writing who involved. So in case anything, that is there. Because when they're ready to get rid, or who they're ready to get rid from amongst them, they're going to use you as one of the people to go down with them. Protect yourself. Don't take your debt as no sheep, young lady. Talk. Talk. Call a press conference. Call name. Because the proof is there. But it's being covered up. So a cover-up is taking place on the Port Authority right now. And meanwhile, who had to suffer for it? The traffickers. Who had their goods that came up from Trinidad, couldn't offload, the goods spoiled on the boat. And up to now, we haven't heard of any compensation for this category of people. Maybe there has been. I haven't heard of any compensation for this category of people. We have a caller online.
Good night, Sheldon.
Good night. You're live. Go right ahead.
Yeah, good night to the Grenadian people. Sheldon, it's a very long time now. I've been hearing a lot of issues surrounding a lot of things taking place on the port. I want to comment on that briefly. Mm-hmm. And it is important for us to understand that people had labeled, and I want to make my myself quite clear. They had used a scenario of 280,000 US, and 150 was paid to the Treasury, and another 140 was paid to the NNP office, South St. George. Whether it's on the account or through the office, I don't know where they get that information from. Now, when the picture starts to hit the Prime Minister's in his face, the Prime Minister of our country today, Honorable Deacon Mitchell, when that starts to hit him live about the corruption in his government with some ministers on some ports that they're robbing the revenue or the coppers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitimatnik. He had to make some assumptions and come to some kind of thing to turn people's mind away from the issue, the main issue that we face today. The issue of people robbing on the port. Now, the manager of the port has all right when he deems somebody is involved in wrongdoing to let them pay or to press charges. So when you press charges, it becomes an issue to a few people. And if it comes to the light, you might hear some top of the line minister named Colin. And he cannot come to the fore. And the Prime Minister knows that and say, I am responsible. Let me move it. But we cannot, in the parliament of our country, we cannot have people going to places where they not belong. The Port Authority has the jurisdiction and they're carrying out their work. But you're having a minister, so-called, in inverted commas, going and ask what is the problem on the port. This is a rare situation. I never heard about that in Grenada before. Under Eric Matugeri, under the PRG, under the NNP, and the previous NDC, I have never heard about that. But this one, so the Prime Minister knows everything. And he has a clear picture of who is involved. Why not, Mr. Prime Minister, come out to the Grenadian people and say to them, I will have to take drastic decisions to get rid of the problem that we face. I am not calling anyone name, but I am saying every individual who is involved knows who the culprit is. And the Prime Minister knows who the culprit is. I am advocating that the union also knows. But you know they're going to have to sweep it under the carpet in order not to make the government look bad. A little bit. But in due time, the Bible says, in due time, all wrongdoing under the sight of God will be paid for by human beings. If you do wrong, you are going to be punished for your wrongdoing. If you live good and you do everything pleasing in the sight of God, you're going to elevate. So, Mr. Prime Minister, sir, I hope you're listening. And we are calling on the Port Authority to let go the information concerning this individual and let people know what kind of corruption that is involved in the NDC party right now. Please, Mr. Prime Minister, don't sweep it under the carpet and don't cover up for people because he go come back to hurt you in your face. Thank you very much, Mr. Sheldon.
All right, my brother. You have a good night. Yes, indeed. Young lady, talk. I'm telling you, you're going to regret not talking. You will regret not talking because they're going to use you together with the individual to get rid of the individual. So protect yourself by talking fuss. Because what happened on the port is a serious matter. There was an investigation involving the FIU and so on. And I find it strange that something like that took place, and they ain't talking about going to the FIU with that. They ain't talking about going to the DPP with that. Because then, remember, it's not only the individual who did that, it's the other people to be implicated in it. But they don't want to have that conversation. They don't want to speak about that. They do not want to speak about that one. Hey, Gleason, sorry, I'm just noticing your message. Good night to you. All right, and Antonio. Yes, man, the lady need to go on top Mount St. Catherine and spill the beans. What, she need to spill the whole bean factory. Not just the beans. She need to say what has gone on. Senator Andre Lewis, you most likely would know if a cover-up is taking place. I know that as the union representative, it is only your responsibility to protect that worker. And you've been doing that. You're protecting that worker. You're looking after the interest of that worker. But to further ensure the safety, security, the continuance of tenure, etc. of that worker, you also need to ensure that that worker is protected by speaking up about what really took place. And if you think this issue is going to die in 2022, all you have another thing coming. Yeah? You have another thing coming. This issue ain't going down so. So know for a fact that more questions will be coming in relation to that particular issue of the Port Authority. We've heard what Senator Andre Lewis said in relation to the issue. Yeah? We've heard what he said.
Promise one public service. Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home. Take Susu in you. I don't believe in superstition. Something wrong with the transformation. From the tenant boys drink the water. Strange thing happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. David Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they get put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water.
No, I'm not drinking the transformation water. No.
Automatic.
Making sure and drink room temperature Glenelg, yeah?
Juve man in a hold my head and ball. PM player jump and climb my wall. But it's not the then I remember. He drank the transformation water. And when I listen to the age.
Folks, it's now 33 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock. We're on the downside of the program, heading up to 10 o'clock.
Who tell them drink the water?
Yeah, Tali, yeah, Natalia. We have to make sure, that y'all take we advice. Take we advice. Talk. Don't go down so. Because as soon as they let the thing get quiet and so on, they're looking to clean house because they want to put a next candidate where that MP is. As soon as they reach to that stage and they're looking to get rid of them, they're going to use this. This is like, have you ever heard the term the sword of Damocles? This is like a sword of Damocles hanging over the head of that individual that they could drop at any time if that individual don't do as they want. Because this one involved jail, eh? Right. Yeah, that involved jail.
They run to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada.
No, there's certain things that they try to hide. So they speak about transparency. You hold a CBI forum on a Friday. In fact, yeah, here's some of the stuff about the CBI program. I want you to hear some of what was said about the CBI program. Now, remember, this is the same CBI program that the NDC used to say they don't want, and they used to have kind of protests about, and they used to talk about and do radio programs on and say CBI bad, and you mustn't involve in that. They got Calypsonians to sing. They get parang on CBI. They get all kind of thing. They attacked investors. They said all sorts of negative things. All of a sudden now CBI is the best thing since sliced bread. Now hear what they've been saying about the CBI program, Grenada's CBI program. And all of this is what took place under the NNP. They tried to give the impression that, yeah, the ratings were done just a few months ago. Yes, they were done a few months ago based on what happened for the previous year.
No. 13 CBI jurisdictions were surveyed. And this is very recently, September 2022, in November, so that's a month and a half ago. And that was done by the Professional Wealth Management, PWM, in collaboration with CS Global, and was published by the Financial Times. So you're talking about reputable institutions doing this survey. And Grenada was ranked 4th, so that's high. But here is here is the whole ranking of the 13. Dominica was on top, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Grenada, Antigua. Notice number 12, Austria. Austria is an European Union member state. So we rank higher than them. In other words, the ranking is saying that, look, your program is so rigorous that it is even more foolproof than what exists in one of our member states, Austria. Yeah? Okay. So that in some sense should begin to debunk the myth that it's a wishy-washy program. All right. And if you notice too, the top 5 are in the Caribbean. So when you hear noise about these guys in the Caribbean selling passports and so on, but look at where you rank in 13. Yeah? Okay. Now, when they did their ranking, they had 7, what they call, 9 pillars, I think they had. Okay? The 7th pillar was due diligence. Due diligence is the process that they go through to vet a particular applicant to make sure we'll talk about it in a while. Due diligence pillar in the survey was pillar 7. And Grenada was awarded a maximum score of 10 on that process, due diligence. Because, why? Because of the, and I quote in here, the stringent and comprehensive requirement. Okay? Stringent and comprehensive requirement. Furthermore, Grenada, and I'm quoting the survey, has a robust external due diligence process, including on-the-ground checks and or assistance from international law enforcement agencies. So it's not some, cloak and dagger operation that is taking place. Yeah? We go further. Grenada requires comprehensive supporting information in respect of an applicant's source of funds. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. The CBI committee tries its very best to vet all the applicants to make sure that, someone with criminal...
So folks, you're hearing there about Grenada's CBI program, the same program that these individuals have been saying before. That's how you have a bunch of crooks under the CBI program and this sort of thing. And you're hearing now the person speaking there is Dr. Oh boy, his name eludes me again. I think it's Dr. Sandiford. Yeah, I think it's Dr. Sandiford. Yeah, Dr. Sandiford is who is speaking there in relation to the CBI program and the achievements of the CBI program, not under the NDC administration, but under the new National Party administration. All of those rankings came because of what was done under the new National Party administration. And the new National Party administration had put a hold on people from Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, being allowed under the CBI program. They put a hold on that. But the NDC came in, and before even forming a cabinet, they opened it back. And then they're speaking about who fund who and who gave money to who. One, they need to present, and we can't, certain things we can't drop, One, they need to present the cabinet conclusion in relation to that. And secondly, they need to declare to the Grenadian people the source of their funding for the election campaign. Because we all know It wasn't selling bakes and saltfish on the side of the road that the NDC used for the type of campaign that they had. That was a multi-million-dollar campaign. So if you want to talk about who received campaign funding and that sort of thing, let's have an open discussion on the issue. Tell us where the funds for your campaign, and be honest about it, because sometimes you ask a question when you already know the answer. Tell us where the funding for your election campaign came from. You want to accuse other people and say who put money in account here, and as the caller mentioned a while ago. But let's speak about you. And let's speak about where your campaign funding came from. So that's another issue, another talking point. That's another question we want answered. Yeah, because they stood up in public and made the accusations without any of the surrounding information or documentation. Right? So let's hear what your political party got as campaign financing, and from who did your campaign financing come from? So that certain people were receiving significant amounts of money. We ain't talking no joke money. Significant amounts of money. Yeah? So let's hear what they have to say about that. Huh? Nice. 4407377.
Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home.
And of course, my friends in the diaspora, 347-329-3101.
From the ten boys drink the water. Drinking happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. They beat Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They ran to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to...
I know somebody say I didn't speak about pensions tonight.
Carriacou.
Well, I want to hear what the present Prime Minister had to say in relation to pensions when he came in his very first interview with Calistro Faria. This is what he had to say in relation to pensions. Listen very carefully. We don't want you going out there and say what he didn't say. So you have to listen carefully to what he's saying here and see what you could pick up out of it.
I am happy to indicate now that based on the briefing I've had from the Ministry of Finance, I feel ever more confident that we will be able to deliver quite speedily on the payment of the pensions, particularly the retroactive aspect I'm looking for.
Folks, we'll come back to that. We've got a call online. Good night.
Good night, Sheldon. Good night. Good night to
Kiame.
people home and abroad.
How are you?
Sheldon, how are you doing?
I'm good. I see Tong was busy today with the cruise ships.
Yes, well, there's a lot of Grenadians on that ship, you know.
Yeah, I realize.
A lot of Grenadians, they come and look for me on the terminal lane, yeah. They live in New York and England. They came on that ship. Children, you're talking about this campaign money. School children say the white man. School children say the white man that gives them that money for the campaign. And also school children say it's the white man that running Grenada. They just have these people on them there. I don't know that what school children say.
And school children that say real thing, you know.
Today, people are explaining what I'm saying is now the poor people that when they walk, they go buy from me and buy from the people in the market. That don't happening. So, you know, it's a real struggle out there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real struggle out there. I mean, you don't know that it's the reality and it's the truth.
Cami, let me ask you a question because I know you interact with them.
God. Huh?
Let me ask you a question because I know you interact with them. I was hearing from a nurse today that their salary is late.
Well, yes. One tell me she go and she didn't get your money.
Mm-hmm.
Another one again in I'm calling where she works in department she works in. She go and push it child to get the money and no money. I don't know if she lie.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you can take everything people say.
Yeah, I understand.
But she come to me and she speak to me because she said I also give her money to pay she was to go. She tell me she come out in the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't get she money.
And she said, Miss Kami, when Dr. Mitchell was there, they used to get the money early, and I know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did give her the $5 to pay she was because I had $10 to Michelle. Because things kind of bad out there when
Yeah.
they selling it. I give her 5, and the same time I give her 5, somebody come and they buy something and make her $20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's sad. But you can't blame nobody, Mr. Scott, for what is going on in Grenada. A lot of us as Grenadian concerned, but it's we the people that bring it ourselves. You know, a lot of NNP vote for NDC. A lot of NDC supporters. And now they can't speak the shame. You understand?
Yeah.
During the campaign, Mr. Scott, I remember a lot of the NNP ministers in rallies, because I went in all the rallies when in Carriacou go. They talk to the people and they tell them, NDC have a track record. They remind the young people what they did to them when they send them home. I mean, come on. I'm not sorry for them people. I don't want nobody sorry for me. I don't know already. I go there just now. But I'm not sorry for them. I'm not sorry for them because they know. Right? They know what they did. So they can't blame nobody for what they're going through now. I'm sorry for the elderly people. So the elderly people that they had the people going and bathe them and go and get their medication. These are the people I feel sad for. You understand? But I'm sorry for them young people. They get caught. Even a lot of people that tell themselves they're going to get pension and they're not qualified. They're not qualified to get pension. They get caught too. You understand? And they want to give them all the praises. Then people don't start to work yet. Then people don't start to work for Grenadians. They come and get everything, make up there for them, and you know, I'm glad people get the money. I'm glad, but they don't come in and buy nothing from poor people. Because most of that money they get now, they have to pay debt. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are glad for that. But I don't understand what is going on in Grenada, so we have to pray. We as a people have to pray for our country because it's our country. You know, and I don't know who advising the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister say he's doing things different. That is why the Prime Minister is not having press briefing. He's doing things different. The Prime Minister living in San Jose. Is they living?
I'm
People
not.
say they're in Granada.
Well,
In Lansapine.
well, what
Some
I'm
say
saying.
they by BBC. Some say they in Annie House and St. John Street. You understand?
I'm not
So I
calling
don't know,
locations.
So we gotta pray for the country, right? They say, school children say, the lady in Guam sent a letter for him. They say Ron sent one. They say Mr. Kevin Andrew sent one. And they ask a man in Carriacou how they could form a political party. That school children say that. Yeah, and people talking. What I'm saying is, I don't trust the union. I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't trust Mr. Andre Lewis and them. I don't have no apology for that. I don't trust them. Right?
Well, what I'm saying is a cover-up is taking place on the port. He has the responsibility to look after the welfare of the worker.
I know the lady.
But the lady need to talk. She need to come out.
She must speak out. As school children say, a pastor. School children in Grenada say, a pastor involved. He could pray on the head. I don't have a problem. I don't crazy and bothering. They say a pastor involved with the put business with things coming out there. That is what school children say, Mr. Scott. And people speak. When you stand up on Melville Street, when you go by the market, you hear everybody saying something, and you have some truth to some of these things. Because they don't like to talk. You have to ask them, Drake and them, who are to pass up to the truck and give them our money. You have to ask them. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And they don't say nothing. Coalition and them not going and ask the Prime Minister and them to have a press conference for them to question him. They will never question Prime Minister Deaton. But when Kit Mitchell, they wanted.
From what I'm hearing.
Dr. Kit Mitchell, they want to ask all kind of questions about his family and all kind of things. If they are a woman and all them things. Go and ask them. Go and ask them who they in the closet. Go and ask them all these things. People suffering. When I see they start to clean the road, coming down Jonestown. And I'm glad that people get in a little fortnight. I'm glad. Because the whole place is bush. On the NNP time, people even get 2-3 fortnight. And money is spending. When poor people get work, they don't spend. They go in the Indian store. The Indian store them hardly making money. At any time we making money in town, I don't say things good. Things are right. It's all right. Because I don't look at extra $5 when people shop. They leave a carpet by me. They leave they think that nobody living nothing. Nobody is shopping nothing. Well, maybe from next week, please, the Lord, something might happen. I don't know. So I'm appealing to them, try and do something and help the people. Stop sending home people. Please. Stop sending them home. Let the people work. Stop sending Carriacou. Poor people in Grenada. And Mr. Scott, all the ministers and senators under this NDC supporters, they come from poor background family. And they must think about that. I don't care what they say about me. I don't care when they meet me and they cursing me. Look tonight, a man cursing me and the bus driver. Because he had to drop me. Because they have a meeting in the school. And because he had to drop me to give me word. Everything is about Dr. Keith Mitchell. Dr. Keith Mitchell is a blessed man. He's a man for the poor people of this country. I don't care what all you say. The group in America say, what all you say here. He's a man for poor people in this country. And he's a blessed man. I don't care what all you say. I was a NDC, you know. I was a NDC. And I see the 3 doctor, Mr. Peter David, I said, that is it. And I go there, I go there, yes. And that man, that Dr. Kit, looking out for everybody, he calling you and telling you good morning, have a nice day. He's still looking out for his people. He's still looking out for his people. A lot of you still have to call him in. That man, look how much houses he built, how much roads. All you say they do nothing in Grenada. Grenadians, all you say Kit Mitchell do nothing. Are you right behind that seat, all you?
Yes,
all
indeed.
You do nothing, you know. Was a truck we had inside a year. A truck. And that man, the man was on a program, Mr. Scott, and GBN, and I call in, and he said, I'll show you okay road. 2 days after, and I come, I see a big thing digging big stone. They jug big stone from here. We are road now. Nobody walking with them. 2 shoes and cloth to wipe their foot. Even with a school here, everybody bringing the children. The man put the road right up here where they have the houses, where the Chinese build. Everybody in this village get toilet and bathroom. All you say, they do nothing. They do nothing really. Shame on somebody.
Kami, God sees and knows everything.
God sees and knows.
So
everything.
we're not perturbed and we're not worried. God sees and knows everything. But we're quickly running out of time.
Kind of thing. That's why I say, Mr. Scott, I'm going to stop. I'm going to that's why I sit down here night before and I say, Lord, when I see things happening in St. David's Road, people cutting one another, people cursing, I say like they put a curse on this country. I will like a candle, all you think. All you can't do this thing to the Grenadian people. We are one. Hey,
all right, Kami.
Nobody will come in and say nothing. You don't come in and address the people.
We're running out of time.
We're
quickly running out of time.
I get me education on the street, you know. I talk about Bishop. You don't want to know the history about married Bishop. You don't want to know the history about married Bishop, sir.
Kami, I'm going to give you a good bit of time tomorrow night to speak.
Peter David, Mr. and Ben, and everybody. And good night to all of you all in the NDC. I'm giving all you a good night.
Yes.
I have no hatred in that.
Of course we don't.
I don't like the things that you all doing to the Grenadian people. Have
all
a good night.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
And you stay safe.
Yes, of course.
Let that man run him out. Let that other man run him out.
No, they could only run more. Don't worry then. All right, for there.
Have a night. If I want.
All right. Yeah, the other man, they could run him out. I suppose they could do. Yeah, and Londell. Yeah, you're reaching. I find you reaching late day, Londell. What kind of thing is? Anyway, you could always go back and watch over because it will be online. So you could always go back and watch over what was said. But Camille raised some very, very serious points there. Some very, very serious points on some very, very serious issues that she has raised there. And Camille, I want you to call a little earlier tomorrow. But the thing is, I know it does be coming up kind of late. By the time you close and you reach up and so. I know it does be kind of late. But give me a call a little earlier. Let we have a longer conversation tomorrow night. We want to have a conversation. All right? Make sure, give me the call tomorrow night. All right, folks? We could probably accommodate one more call quickly if the person called now, 440-7377 or 347-329-3101. We could quickly accommodate probably one more quick call if somebody calls now. But a caller earlier was raising something, and it reminded me of a tune I used to hear. Listen to the first part of this tune. Oh, let me see if I could get it a little further down. Yeah, I think a little two thing there.
When I hear this one boy, my heart.
No, I can't play that one, I'm going to get the part for you. Yeah, I'm going to get the part for you. I can't play that part on air right now. I will get myself in trouble if I go and play that part. But there was a talk a little while ago about something you're hearing that certain people, and Camille mentioned it there, about some young people who it seems are having some issues within the cabinet. And I've been hearing that talk about who want to go off on their own. And where you see smoke, it usually have a bit of fire somewhere around. So we have to find out a bit more of what is taking place with that. Because the last time you had an NDC administration and you started hearing that kind of talk, we know what happened right after. You started having resignation, and then you had the shutting down of parliament. And then after that, you ended up in elections. So as far as I'm concerned, and I always say this to the members of the NDC right now, take your one thumb and go. Yeah, take your one thumb and go. Because it's that you're getting. And that alone that you're getting. 160 days of the National Democratic Congress in office, people. That's 160 days less that you have to spend under that administration. Here we're counting them down. So 160 days gone. What have they achieved in that time? The only successful program that the NDC has had in that time is the Send Home program. That's the only program that the National Democratic Congress has properly implemented since taking office 160 days ago. The Send Home program. And the Fatten They Self program. Some of them can't even fit in the clothes again. The Fatten They Self program. $24,000 additional on a yearly basis per man. $10,000 allegedly for a press secretary that ain't having no press. And an executive assistant that seems to be similarly endowed. And up to now, you're paying a significant amount of money and you don't even know what you're paying for. So folks, that's all the time we have tonight on Talking Points. It's been wonderful being here with you tonight. I had to struggle through, I had to continue the water for the night tonight because, you're hearing the throat. So you realize the cold is giving. I'll drink some ginger tea when I get home. No sugar, just ginger and tea. If I had some honey, I'd put some honey in it. But I've only got ginger, so I'll make some ginger tea. That'll take care of that. That's all the time we have for Talking Points tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you. In everything you say and everything you do, we want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Love each and every one of you. I am out of here. All right.
Service. Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home. Take Susu in you. I don't believe in superstition. Something wrong with the transformation. From the 10 them boys drink the water. Strange thing happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. David Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They run to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. Mathematic, Carriacou, Grenada, and it's that. Juve man in a hold my head and ball. PM play a jump and play my wall. But it's only then I remember he drank the transformation water. And when I listen to the AG, if they do wicked, well they crazy. If you don't support the agenda, they treat you like fish out of water. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on